WPA.
Ocala.
Diamonds in the sunset, now your time has come.
All right, 22 minutes before 10 o'clock. You know, everyone makes a law for this and a law for that, Robin. I think we should have a law that says no longer should elected officials have any control of our money.
Yeah, there you go. I like it.
I just think they make so many mistakes. I mean, how many schools have to have children out there selling candy bars?
Yeah.
Because they fell short. We're going to have the lottery. We got lots of money for the schools, right? Now Senior Services is being hit by the sequestration thing, and Senior Services, among other things, brings those meals to people who otherwise might not be eating at all. Sarah Stroh is in the studio. She's the Executive Director of Marion Senior Services. She's here to tell us how sequestration is affecting Marion Senior Services here in our county. And Sarah, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Good morning, Larry.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. So what happened? You heard all this stuff about sequestration. Did you imagine that it would affect you?
Well, we knew it would.
You knew?
We had been advocating with our U.S. congressmen and legislators to let them know what the effects would be on agencies like ours that provide meals, both home delivered and our congregate meals, to let them know who this was going to affect and how it was going to affect them. We advocated as best we could, and unfortunately the sequestration still went through.
Right.
We were waiting for our first hit of money, which we'll probably find out in a couple weeks, but what we're slated to be hit with is about an $83,000 loss or cut in our funding from a $1.2 million funding that we started with at the beginning of the year.
So what does that mean to the little old lady living down the road who depends on you? Does it mean she won't get food?
Well, what we're doing right now, of course, when we started the year, we had slated our services and balanced them out for what we thought what our funding was going to be for the year. Then when we're hit with this, what we immediately did was just freeze all our programs at the moment that are funded by the Older Americans Act. And so we are not doing any new enrollments right now at our congregate meal sites or any new enrollments through our home delivered meals that are funded through the Older Americans Act. We're hoping to avoid cutting services to any existing clients, because that's the last thing we want to do. We're hoping through attrition that we're able to bring the services down to the level that our current funding now will handle. But if that doesn't happen, unfortunately, we will be faced with closing dining sites and possibly cutting services to home delivered meal clients.
Well, who are your clients? Give us a kind of a portrait of them, something.
For our congregate sites, they're the more active senior possibly. They're able to get transportation. They're out. They come to the sites. The best part, I think, about our congregate sites is that we offer activities. It gives some people a reason to get up in the morning. They can come there, socialize. I mean, they play bingo. We have karaoke. We have the Wii bowling. Which I feel that's all almost more important than the meal.
Yeah, probably.
Because a lot of these people, live alone. Probably the service that's the most near and dear to my heart is the people that receive our home delivered meals. They're usually, I think it's about 85% of our seniors that we deliver to live alone.
Right.
They don't have family around, and so when that meal driver comes and delivers that meal, not only are they receiving that meal, which may be the only meal they're going to get that day, but they're also getting a well check. They're being checked on to make sure that everything is okay. Our drivers really get to know the clients, and they can tell when something's wrong.
I bet they do, yeah.
That to me is as vital as again the meal itself. So if we have to cut services, those people would not be receiving those benefits. Not only the meal, but the socialization and the involvement.
And this is the hypocrisy of local, state, and federal government, because all of these people that you're serving are people that grew up somewhere in the country, somewhere in our community. They worked, they paid taxes. All of their taxes are funding the salaries of every elected official from local
Right.
up to federal. And now all of the elected officials are slapping this generation in the face, stating that they're not worthwhile.
It's like
that
they're
They're not
forgotten.
giving them help. Exactly, exactly.
You can't tell that Robin is passionate, can you?
Well, I'm the same way.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So, are we blaming the right people? What Robin just said, I agree with. Are we blaming the right people?
They're the ones that have the power to change it.
Yeah.
We elected them.
Yeah.
We need to advocate for our seniors, which we're doing
Right.
as best we can, and with all the available resources we have. But I think it needs to kind of be a groundswell of this is the effect it's going to have on our elderly neighbor or our parents.
Right.
And us eventually.
Eventually, we hope to get there.
Do they pay at all? How does that work? If you find somebody who's in need, do you say, can you pay $1? I mean, is there anything at all that they pay?
For our home delivered meal programs, we actually have several different funding sources. Some of them require a small copay. The most people pay is $5. But those are for the ones that are able. We have a whole sliding scale. In some of the programs, there is
So
no
it depends
copay
on
required.
their situation.
Their situation, exactly.
Is there anything? Let's just consider the people who are at fault here to be unnamed and really unidentifiable just for now. Put them off to the corner, and forget blame. What can we do in spite of that? In the same way that the school said, all right, well that's what they chose to do. Now we have to do. We don't want our music programs to go away, our sports programs. So let's sell candy bars. Let's have carnivals. Let's do things. So all these creative ideas that the schools came up with. What can we do as a community to help fill in the void that's happening from the sequestration?
And Larry, you actually, I think, have hit the nail on the head, because I've had many conversations with my board chairman that, we're no longer going to be able to rely on the government funding as our primary funding source. And, the question is going to be, how do we as a community take care of our own? We're just at the beginning of starting to develop some ideas of how we can, mitigate some of these effects that could possibly happen on our clients.
Wow. Are you okay with taking phone calls from listeners?
Sure.
All right, let me just reintroduce you, Sarah. Sarah Stroh is in the studio. She's the Executive Director of Marion Senior Services. Sequestration is hitting them hard. I guess you haven't seen it yet, but in a few weeks or so?
Yes, we're supposed to get our new contracts with the cuts in funding within the next couple weeks.
And now, just so I want the listeners to know before I go to the phone, that before we went on the air, you did tell us that there's a bigger hit like a year from now.
And that's what we're actually more concerned with, because the information I have received from the National Association on Aging, which is part of they advocate for the Older Americans Act. The projections are, if sequestration isn't changed or stopped, my agency just itself could be hit with a $588,000 cut, which, if you couple that with the cut we're getting right now, would be about 58% cut in my funding. So, I mean, that would obviously result in closed sites, in people not receiving home delivered meals. And the whole purpose of the agency is to help people remain independent in their own homes and avoid going into institutional care, which there's some very fine institutional care places here in Marion County, but I think we all agree we want to stay in our own home. That's where we're more comfortable, and we're able to help provide that.
And especially just because Robin made an excellent point, so I'm just kind of jumping on her bandwagon a little bit, but at 58% cut, the people who are responsible for that cut won't get any cut.
No,
that would be
won't.
Correct.
Yeah, just to kind of re-mention what Robin mentioned. All right, let's go to the phone. Thank you for calling and for being interested in this subject. Sarah Stroh is your guest today. Good morning. You're on the air.
Thanks, Larry, and thanks, Sarah. I have a father-in-law who passed away at age 89 that was in a care situation at the end of his life where he got good care. World War II veteran. I have a mother-in-law that's in her mid-80s, and she's very independent, and we're very grateful for that. It is said that you can judge a country's society by the way they treat their children and their elderly. And what we're witnessing, and maybe Sarah was either too polite or too diplomatic, and I would appreciate that if that were the case. and I thank her for all the work that she does. She has to deal with what's in her heart, and in the finances, that's got to be a tremendous struggle. She's right in the trenches of what we're talking about, and that I have much respect for. I would just say to the folks listening that what we're witnessing with the sequestration is not the influence of government. We've lost anywhere from 30 to 50,000 manufacturing facilities. That's polite English for factories. And we've shipped many of those to Central America, Mexico, and to China. And so when you've lost your industrial-based wage and your industrial economy, you've gone to a service economy, which has gone from an $18 an hour country to about a $7 or $8 an hour country. With the loss of those plants, we've also lost our tax revenue that comes back into the country. I would also share with the listeners that from the late 70s up until today, the late 70s, companies and corporations were paying about 20 to 23% tax back in the United States as a people, as a group of people.
Well, and not to cut you off, Mark, but what you're saying is true. And again, the reason for that is the legislators who managed everything poorly.
Right. I agree, Larry. I just wanted to. I'll get off so I can continue to listen to you guys. But I would just say, and I know, I personally have a take on things. It all starts under the Reagan administration, where corporations were let off the hook. Also, the wealthy don't pay the same percentage as you do, Larry, or myself, or Sarah. So we are saying that we start taxing the corporations so we can take care of our citizens. The political agenda of the right is to not ever tax them. And now corporations and the wealthy move their corporate headquarters overseas so they don't have any allegiance to the nations and to the nation.
You, Mark. And right. Mark represents that argument very well, obviously. And the I think the point that needs to be made is that the inability of the people making that argument to compromise with the people making the other side of the argument is the problem. Because if they could form that compromise, you wouldn't be in the same boat you're in.
Right, and I think we could balance what the needs are out there, what's available, and come to the right solution that would help our...
Well, I've gotten to the point, and I know this is maybe being very cynical, I just don't trust them anymore. I just don't trust them. I think it's more in our best interest to say, you know what, if I see a fish fry for the Veterans Home in Fort McCoy, I'm going to go have some fish. You know, I know it's not much, but it's my 2 cents, you know, and if I ever hit the lottery, I'm going to help in a bigger way. But I think a lot of us, and this is typical of our county, our community, I mean, we do step up to the plate, whether it's for, you know, one child with leukemia or for a whole organization as senior services. So.
And like I said before, you know, I think this is an opportunity for the community to be aware of what is going on. And, you know, we're in a unique situation with our demographics here in Marion County because we have a higher percentage of people that are 60 and over, and that continues to grow. The highest growing demographic in Marion County is those 85 and older.
Wow.
And what is being cut is not the administrative costs, because you're operating at a minimum on administrative costs. You have a lot of volunteers.
We rely heavily on our volunteers for our home delivered meals. You know, our organization, my staff, who are extremely dedicated and passionate on what we do. We see the clients we help every day. You know, we have not had raises in the last 3 or 4 years at all, because we want as much of that money to go towards our clients. Even though we're receiving cuts, we're trying to do what we can, because we see every day the benefits of what we do and the people that we help.
Do you bring one meal a day, or is it more than one meal a day?
We bring the home delivered meal is 1 meal a day.
All right, let's go back to the phone. Good morning. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Good morning. I worked for Marion County Senior Services the first 10 years they were in operation. I did case management. I also managed a nutrition site, and I really enjoyed the 10 years there. And then I went to Ocala Regional Medical and worked another 20-something years. And we've always, when I was there, we always had problems in terms of funding, because you had so many sources at the time. You had federal, state, county, United Way, donations, local, and but I think one of the things that we always did, and I think one of the things that the community can do, which I will encourage, which I intend to do, probably this week and the later week, and certainly while the legislatures are in session, is to contact your legislatures, contact your congressman, contact Senator Nelson and God, Jesus, that's Rubio. But it has always been a problem in terms. We've always had to lobby for funding for senior services, even when I was there. And then I was appointed by Governor Child. I served on the District 13 Health and Human Services Board for 8 years, and then also on CDBG, and we gave donations from the city, and the county also, I think, was giving funds. So you got multiple sources, and certainly the county, the city, as well as your legislatures, all the way up to Washington, D.C., we have to be continuously diligent and vigilant in Marion County about lobbying these people, calling them, writing them, email them, and that's the only way you're going to get. I mean, that's been the system for years.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease, yeah.
And so you just have to continue to do that. I even did a little volunteer work when I was employed by the agency. It didn't, and I enjoyed the 10 years that I was there. However, I had, a son that I had to take care of too, so I ended up going to, like I say, retiring from Ocala Regional. But when I first started, they had 3 vans. And there's a lot more now. And Nancy Picard was the director, then Diane Marshall, and I was gone before Gail Cross got there. But this community has to be, and I can't emphasize it enough, they have to, we have a large populace of seniors, so they have the time to make a phone call. A lot of them, don't necessarily do the email and all that, but they can certainly make a phone call or have somebody write a letter or something, especially while our legislatures are in session. I know when I was doing lobbying, too, when I worked for the hospital, we used to take a group up there. They used to have a Marion County Day, and we would go to every one of the legislatures in this area, the senators and the House members, and absolutely lobby them, even if they weren't there. We'd make appointments, but if they weren't there, we'd go anyway.
Thank you, Lenny. I want to thank you. You bring a question, though, to my mind. I want to ask Sarah. Thank you, Lenny. Appreciate that. Let me ask you, based on what he was saying right there, it sounds like he's encouraging us to lobby Tallahassee. The money from sequestration comes from the federal government.
Correct. From our U.S. We need to lobby advocate.
I mean, he did say,
Yes.
2 U.S. senators, right?
Correct. And even on a state level, in fact, I was up in Tallahassee a couple weeks ago because we do receive state funding for some of our other programs.
That's what I needed to know, yeah.
So, but for specifically on the sequestration, it is a federal funding, and so it would be our U.S. representatives and senators, and I wholeheartedly agree with him that that's what we need to do. Is send letters, emails, call, because if they don't hear how important this is and how it's going to affect our community, they're not going to know, and they will probably think, well, this funding, I guess, is not important, and the money may go somewhere else. So wholeheartedly, that's what I'm advocating for, and if anyone needs specific, address, email information for those U.S. legislators, please feel free to call us at the agency, and I will be happy to provide that.
That's a good time.
It's in the phone book as well.
But it's a good time right now to tell us the number. I'll go ahead and write it down, and hopefully other people will too.
Sure. Our phone number is 620-3501.
And look at that. Robin already has it on the website, okay?
And could you elaborate about the name Marion Senior Services, because the caller referred to it as Marion County Senior Services, and that's not your name? Well,
we changed our name actually a couple years ago because a lot of people, we've actually been in existence for 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, so even in the doom and gloom of the funding, we have some exciting things to celebrate this year, and we're going to have an event at the Hilton. But we did change our name because people actually thought we were fully funded by the county. They thought we were a county agency, and we have been for 40 years a private nonprofit organization that rely, yes, we get a lot of state and federal and local funding, but we also rely on donations as well. So
okay, I hope we understand what we can do to help, though, before we're almost done. Let me go back to the phone. One more call. Good morning. You're on the air with Sarah Stroh.
Larry, one quick thing that I just wanted to point out. I was watching the legislative session. Looks like they're going to have a surplus this year. So they can utilize some. There's going to be some extra funds available. If people lobby the legislatures while they're in session enough, they could make up some of that.
Oh, at the state level.
On the state level.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
That's good to know, actually, yeah. All right, so, well, that's obviously one thing we can do is write to our local, well, our state legislators, maybe even our local guys. They might, a lot of the local ones used to be or soon maybe have aspirations to be state legislators, so it's probably a good idea to write.
Well, and we have a very good relationship, I believe, with our local, just the Marion County here locally, and also our state representatives and senators. Charlie Stone has been a great advocate for us, and so we're hoping that continues, because we, the sequestration funding cuts that we're getting is on the federal level. We definitely don't want to see any cuts on a state level, so we're advocating for those programs. And like the gentleman said, we're advocating actually hopefully for an increase in some of our state funding, because there is a slight surplus this year.
And you had said there would be an event at the Hilton, a fundraising
Yes,
event?
September 15th, we are going to have a celebration of our 40th anniversary to celebrate where we started from, which was a $100 donation from Blessed Trinity, and we served First Presbyterian and First United Methodist started us off and delivered 13 home delivered meals, and now we deliver probably between 400 and 450 home delivered meals a day, and serve over 200 meals in our congregate sites every day.
Wow,
so
good for you.
It's something to celebrate, and a way for us to advocate what's out there and what the needs are, and we don't want to see any cuts in these programs.
So aside from the letter writing, is that event something we can go to, or is that something
that we will be having promotional stuff come out this summer about that? But yes, that's definitely something that's going to be open to the public to come, and we hope to have as many people there as possible.
Well, and if there's any creative ideas that you all come up with,
please let me know.
So please let me know, and we'll help you spread the word. That's our job.
That would be wonderful, Larry. Thank you.
Yeah, if I find out about it before you, then something's wrong. Well, definitely we want to help with this. It just breaks my heart to think that there's somebody out there. Robin said it the best. I mean, these people contributed all their lives.
Correct.
And now they're at a point in time where we need to be there for them. They were there for us.
Exactly. And it's not a lot that we need to do to be able to help them. That's the thing. A meal, a visit, it's not a lot of money, but, just the cuts that we're going to get this year, if I equate that just to like our meal programs, the $83,000 cut equates to about 10,500 meals this year.
Oh, my gosh.
So, and if you equate that on an annual basis to the number of people that would affect, that'd be 42 people that we won't be able to feed for a year. So that puts it in real numbers.
42 people. Wow. Wow. Thank you for what you're doing, first of all.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate this forum.
That's the big thank you, and thank you for being on the air. Obviously, that's an important one also. Sarah, the phone number that Sarah Stroh gave us is 620-3501. Robin already has it on the WOCA website, so go to AM Ocala Live on our site. Look up the guest list, and you'll see Sarah's name on the Wednesday, March 27th listing at the 9:35 slot, and that's where the phone number is. Or just call us here. We'll be glad to repeat that for you. And is the website mcseniorservices.org?
No, we actually, when we changed the name, we changed it. The website is Marion Senior Services, all spelled out, .org.
Okay, MarionSeniorServices.org. Okay, got it. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Don't get caught in the dark. Call Tri-County Generators, LLC first at 1-800-622-1957, your authorized Generac dealer. Tri-County Generators are there when you need them with new generators for home standby, commercial, RV, and portable generators. They also service your existing systems. Now is the time to act. Be prepared before you have an emergency. Call Mike Gant today at 1-800-622-1957.